We are frequently called to action for good causes. Save the children, feed the hungry, support our veterans, end racism, save the environment. All of these are good causes and worthy of our attention, but they can be draining, even if we agree that it's for a good cause. The more dire the circumstances and the bigger the problem, the worse we feel about it, and the more hopeless. Conservation is no different, and lately, with many people expressing angst over climate change, it can seem beyond hope. Personally, I'm encouraged by the notion that no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Put another way, solving world hunger is too big for one person to solve. But you can share your sandwich. Before I go any farther, let me be clear that I am making an appeal here that is not scientific. I said early in the class that science deals with the natural world, and that doesn't include feelings, ethics, or morality. So while conservation science can tell us what plants and animals need to survive, it cannot help us decide if we should conserve species. These are social, ethical, and even economic decisions. If you will permit me this indulgence, I am going to step outside the boundaries of science and see if I can make a reasonable case for conservation. My approach is not to beat people up with depressing statistics, so don't worry. When I hear calls to save the environment, or the earth, or oceans, it sounds like a task for the Avengers, not a battle that mere mortals can fight alone. Besides, what is the environment? It's a rather vague and nebulous term. Is it the weather? The animals? Does it include mosquitoes? Who wants to save them? Maybe you like the idea of saving nature better. But nature and natural by themselves are mostly feel-good words and more useful for selling natural products than for helping us understand the world. To be properly motivated to do anything requires that we place value on it. To conserve nature, we must value it. There are several approaches. Pictures of baby animals in danger appeal to people's sympathy. Statistics about habitat loss make us feel guilty. Buying green products make us feel less guilty. Being asked for donations to save the planet makes us feel annoyed. All of these approaches are selling ideas, but I find that none of them really resonate for long. They're vague, like ending world hunger or poverty or racism. But feeding one person, giving $1, or knowing one person of a different race changes everything. Humans are social animals, and relationships matter. A squirrel is just a cute animal from that S poster in your kindergarten classroom, until you see a pair of them chasing each other around the tree trunk. Then you have a connection. You have to know who you are trying to save. Otherwise, it's just an idea, just another cause. Plants and animals have names and even faces. To lump them all together under the label nature or environment is to fail to understand them. We don't like to be labeled. It dismisses all the other important facets of who we are if we're simply known as one thing, a name, a race, a gender. I hope that is why you're taking part in college. Education expands our world, and we learn that it is more complex than we ever knew. We learn that there are such things as imaginary numbers, quantum entanglement, legal precedents, surrealist paintings, and plate tectonics. In this class, I've had the luxury of having your attention for weeks. I'm not limited to an ad slot on TV, a billboard, or a flyer posted around campus. We've had the chance to go deep and put a face on nature. Actually, we put lots of faces on nature and quite a few names as well. While I recognize that we, humans, are a different sort of species and perhaps a special one, we are still bound by the same natural laws that govern all living beings. Just as you have learned how species depend on one another, we are part of that equation. There is no us versus them. This is life, not a sporting event. If we think of life in terms of winners and losers, we are sadly self-defeating. We need all types, the nerds, the jocks, and the hippies. In nature, we need the Douglas fir, the yarrow, the mule deer, the marmot, and all the others, even the mosquito. To conserve nature, we must value it. To value it, we must know it. To know it, we must experience it. And to experience it, we have to be in it. This doesn't need to be traveling to rainforests or coral reefs or alpine meadows. It can be backyard birding, exploring neighborhood creeks, floating the Yakima River, wandering in Cowiche Canyon, or hiking in the Cascades. So what's next? How does a person conserve nature? How do we together save the planet? I'm not going to answer that for you. It's not that I lack ideas about what needs to be done, but if it's your value, then it should be yours. It's pretty easy to find things to do. Maybe you're already doing a lot, maybe nothing. If conservation is a new idea for you, then simply developing an appreciation for plants and wildlife would be my recommended starting point. Hopefully, this class has started you out in that process. I worked for the Forest Service for several summers. One crew I was on had a saying, "Clean your own bowl." It's not saving the planet, but taking care of our own messes is a good place to start.